Hey everyone, it's Ellie Mae with Silhouette Secrets Plus, and today I'm going to show you how you can set up to use the auto sheet feeder. You're going to set up your machine and your sheet feeder in the page setup panel. Notice that there is no mat selected and you have registration marks and your borders are set on this for your print and cut. You're going to go to your print after you have set up your page to be printed. And you're going to go to the preferences. I choose preferences so that I can select the preview before printing, so I can double check before I actually do my prints. And then I'm setting how many copies that I'm going to do. With the sheet feeder, you can do multiple copies at a time for the print and cut. I send it to the printer. Here is my print preview. This is a personal preference, but I choose to do this because I've caught errors before I waste my ink and start printing. And then I send it to my printer and I placed it into the sheet feeder. And then you can see that I am clicking on the Send tab in the top right. I choose my cut settings, which you want to test first so that you don't jam your machine. You want to make sure that you have the proper machine selected. So it's going to be my Cameo 4 with the auto sheet feeder, and I chose the number of copies. Then I'm clicking send after I verify the cut settings are correct, and I go through the windows for the setup. And then I have done a time lapse here because you don't need to see all 6 of those cut out at the same time. But I did a time lapse. It's going to cut the first sheet, and then with a Cameo 4, it ejects that sheet to the bottom of the sheet feeder. With a Portrait 3, it ejects the sheet out the back side when it is finished. So I have sped this up so you can see, but I did pop everything out. I'm using Cardstock, so I did set it up for pop-out cutting. It is not my favorite. I'll give some more tips on that at the end. And I just continued to work as the machine was working. So when it's finished with one sheet, it ejects it to the bottom and pulls the next one in. You want to double check and test your cut settings before you start to send your full job. Otherwise, you can jam the material into the machine. This was not my first time doing it. The first time I had my settings too high and I jammed everything up into the machine and had to just keep trying. So then at the end, I'm going to give you some tips here once that ejects.
So now personally, I'll show you. Personally, I'm not a fan of the pop out with cardstock textured. I would rather use a cutting mat and have it cut cleanly through. So I'm going to show you what pop out means. Pop out means that it cuts, but not quite all the way through. You really do need to work on your cut settings to make sure it doesn't go all the way through, or you could damage your cutting strip, which would affect your future cuts. So you can see I'm having to tear this out. And you have to be very careful. If there's any pieces here that didn't cut cleanly, then those could possibly tear. So it's really going to be a matter of personal preference. I like to use a cutting mat. Some people are okay having to tear out and all the pop outs here. But you really do need to dial in those cut settings so you don't damage your cutting strip. There we go.
And then I took and assembled everything. I used scrapbook adhesive on the back side of the pieces and assembled it together. And one thing you'll notice is that when you're testing products like this is you end up with a lot of the same design. But I have a good start on my neighbor gifts for this fall. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great day.